Hi, everybody. So we're going to go through a full mock test with August. And while we do the test, you can have a look at the band descriptors. These are the public band descriptors for the speaking. And in the first test, we are going to have up the first two, otherwise it's a bit too crowded. So we have Fluency and Coherence, and Lexical Resource, which is vocabulary. So while you're listening, maybe you can have a look at these and think about what, you think the person is getting and why, make a note of any vocabulary that they use, perhaps that's very high level. Okay. All right. Okay. August, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So could you tell me your full name, please?
So my full name is Tong Chun Yan. My surname is Tong, and my first name is Chun Yan. You may call me August. Thank you.
Okay. And where are you from, August?
I'm from Hong Kong, and which is arguably one of the most culturally diverse cities in the world.
Okay. And could I see your ID, please?
Let's say this is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself, okay? So let's talk about your hometown. What kind of place is your hometown?
Well, I would say Hong Kong is a place which I'm from. I'm from Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a place full of bustle and hustle. It is never going to sleep. It operates like 24 hours a day. And at any given moment in the day, you can definitely find something that you will find meaningful or you would like to entertain yourself with. And I would say, in a very simple sentence, Hong Kong is a place that will never disappoint anyone.
Okay. And can you tell me about one particular interesting place in Hong Kong?
Well, if I need to talk about that, I would definitely recommend you visiting the Peak in Hong Kong. It is not an ordinary peak. It is actually the peak which overlooks the majestic Victoria Harbour in Central, which is, if I can say it in that way, magnificently gorgeous, because at any given moment in the years, the peak is packed with visitors and locals alike, just because of the view. And also, if you don't like to take the peak tram from the bottom of the peak, from the bottom of the hill all the way to the peak, you can actually go for hiking from the bottom of the hill all the way to the peak, which is a very easy route, and also it takes less than 45 minutes to complete. So definitely something that everyone can enjoy, and I think this definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's move on to talk about animals. So what kinds of animals are popular pets in your country?
Well, I would say dogs are popular pets in my country, predominantly because they are easy to take care of, and also there are many certified vets in China and also in Hong Kong, which are able, who are able to cure any diseases related or illnesses related to dogs. That's why this is definitely one of the most popular choices in my country.
And are there any animals that are used for work in your country?
Well, that's a tricky question, but if I really have to name one, I would say oxen are what are used for agricultural purposes. They usually work on the farmlands to plow the field. But other than that, I don't think we really use animal for work purposes or anything like that, I'm afraid.
Okay, and now let's talk about travel. So how easy is it to travel in your country?
Well, I would say it is very easy to travel in my country. There are many forms of public transportation that one can easily opt for example, the train, the plane, or by buses, or even by coaches. The deciding factors really are the prices and also the level of convenience. So it really depends on your needs. But option-wise, I would say those options will never fail you and will never disappoint you, because they are firstly very efficient and secondly highly accessible. Thank you.
Okay. And what's the most popular transport where you live?
Well, in the place where I live, the most popular transport must be the underground railway, because it reaches something approximately 90% of my of Hong Kong. So this is reason number one, because it's very convenient, and reason number two is because the underrail system in Hong Kong is highly affordable. So nearly everyone, all walks of life, can actually afford an efficient underground services in Hong Kong. And these two reasons pretty much sum up why people are obsessed with underground services in Hong Kong.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a topic, and I would like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, you have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Okay, so I would like you to describe an area of natural beauty in your country. Okay, so you have 2 minutes for this. Don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Could you start speaking now, please?
Yes. So the place I would like to introduce to you is the Yangtze River in China, which is located in northern part of China, if I remember correctly. So the reason why this place is so magnificently gorgeous is because it is although it is named as a river, but essentially it is a huge, or I should say a colossal waterfall at one point. So there are multiple waterfalls, small ones, and one really huge one, all at the same place. And people basically just stand near the waterfalls, admiring its mighty appearance and all the water falling from the top to the bottom. And this is the first thing that people usually do. And the second thing, of course, after admiring all the breathtaking sceneries at that particular location, they definitely take selfies and even group photos in front of the waterfalls, although authorities have often warned them not to, because it is very dangerous to stand near to fast-moving waters. But then every day it seems to me that people are risking their lives for the sake of a good photo that they can share on social media. And the third thing, which is a very interesting thing that people do, is that you can really see a small group, a minority of people sitting very still next to the waterfalls and taking pictures of the waterfalls. I mean by taking, I mean drawing pictures of the waterfalls. And there are a group of very special artists in China which specializes in drawing waterfalls, because there are obviously too many waterfalls in China. So some people really love doing that. And I think that's the three most frequently witnessed things around the area. And I will definitely go so far to say that. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we and would you like to go back to this place?
Yes, definitely, because it is also regarded one of the best sceneries in the world, according to the web.
Okay. Okay, so we've been talking about an area of natural beauty, and now I'd like to ask you 1 or 2 more general questions related to this. So let's talk about environmental problems, first of all. So what would you say are some of the most serious environmental problems that we're facing these days?
Well, if I really have to talk about this topic, I would like to say there are two major environmental problems that we are facing on a daily basis. The very first one is air pollution. So with the increased amount of private vehicles in the world, there is no doubt, or it comes as no surprise, that the amount of air particulates or pollutants simply increase every day exponentially, if I can put it that way. So it really poses serious risks, a serious risk to our health. And the second pollution is light pollution. Although it is not so obvious in some part of the world, but at least in Hong Kong, light pollution is definitely making the headline every single day. So what I mean is that given that there are so many outdoor advertisement banners out there, so there are bright spotlights focusing on these banners at any given moment. However, we need to live near them. So that means our sleeping cycle will inevitably be interrupted by all these different sources of bright light.
Okay.
These are just artificial bright lights. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And do you think that governments around the world are doing enough related to environmental problems?
Well, I would say they are doing not quite enough regarding these problems. I think it is incumbent upon the governments to do more to rectify all these problems. But I would say that the reason is that the governments have to earn money, so they have to make some profits out of everything. So if they put a stop to every single sort of pollution out there, it hurts the benefits of many stakeholders, for example, car manufacturers, the advertisement industry. And this is something that the governments really don't want to see, because they want to see a coherent, I should say a harmonious society with every stakeholder being very happy with themselves.
And what kind of punishments do you think are appropriate for companies or individuals who are harming the environment?
Well, I would say if I need to talk about punitive measures, I would say something like damages, which is the term referring to cash reimbursement for the customers or for the residents living nearby is definitely something that they can consider. And the second thing is, of course, by law or imprisonment. If the manufacturers still keep on producing environmentally unfriendly cars for a prolonged period of time, even after consistent warnings, then I think it makes every sense to simply lock these manufacturers up in a prison, so that it sends a warning signal to other manufacturers in that particular industry.
Okay, August, thank you very much. That's the end of the speaking test. Okay.
Thank you very much, Annalie. Thank you, August. That was excellent. Yeah, well done. Yeah, so we have a bit of time now for feedback and maybe to give some idea about estimated band score as well. So Annalie, please feel free to suggest some feedback for August on his performance.
Okay, well, I mean, clearly this is very, very high level. I would say if we look at fluency and coherence, August gave long answers to all of the questions, and they were very, very well structured. This is something that people don't always think about with its fluency and coherence. So there were lots of introductory phrases like, there are two main reasons for this. Reason number one is da 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 da. Reason number two is. Also a lot of adverbs, definitely, that were used to introduce points of view and introduce ways of thinking. I think, and again, if we speak about any kind of hesitation at all, it was only related to content. I don't think there was any hesitation because of lack of vocabulary or because of grammar. I think August was simply finding the most appropriate and perhaps even the most excellent word to use in each situation. So I would say a 9 for fluency and coherence. Jamie, I don't know if you...
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that actually. I mean, they're fully developed answers. It was very logical. And you didn't have to hesitate or pause, noticeably when you're speaking. So yeah, I really felt that that was a very strong band for fluency and coherence. The one thing I would say in relation to that is that I felt sometimes you could have actually benefited from pausing in places to make the transition between your ideas more clear, because occasionally you'd be speaking and then you jump directly to to a related topic and it was very like perhaps just being a little bit slower almost and a bit more deliberate when you finish an idea before moving on to the next one. That will signal to the examiner that you're developing your topic. I mean, that was literally the only feedback really I can give you on that, because it was a very strong performance overall. So yeah, that's my that's what I would add for that band, Annalie. Yeah.
Okay, so if we look at a lexical resource, I mean, again, this was extremely high, probably higher than quite a lot of English people, I would say, would not be quite so eloquent with their speaking. I think collocation, particularly, we have things like incumbent upon, punitive measures, rectify problems, at any given moment. So the collocation, the phrasing is very, very high. Yeah. I think just one thing I would say, hustle and bustle rather than bustle and hustle. Yeah. So that's just that one, hustle and bustle. That would be the only one I could see. A lot of good words like arguably, predominantly. So many that I couldn't, possibly write them down. Actually, I didn't have time. So it was definitely sustained. It wasn't just the occasional, oh, this is a bit of a good word. It was really, really sustained throughout. It was idiomatic. There was paraphrasing evident there, which was very clear. I think definitely an 8, bordering on a 9 again because of the precision of the language. I think we could almost go up to the 9 there. I don't know what you think, Jamie.
I'd agree. I think it fulfills all the criteria for a band 8, definitely. So you have sustained use of less common items and collocations. So and really good paraphrasing as well. You said I should say, you're talking about the waterfall, and you said I should say that it is huge, or rather colossal. And it's just like this very sort of natural way of adding in extra words. So that was great. I would almost again say that you could almost tone down a little bit, so that rather than trying to do 100% of what you can do, maybe even just like 95%, because there were some collocations. If you say it's magnificently spectacular, it's like it's
gorgeous.
Magnificently gorgeous. It's like it's correct, but it's not necessarily an appropriate collocation. And perhaps you could just say, it's spectacular, it's gorgeous, it's magnificent. You maybe don't need to go so far to make that kind of collocation every time. So yeah, I would almost, I don't want to say try to be too simple, but I would say your vocabulary is obviously enough to get a very high band without having to push quite as hard as you do. So that would be my advice there. Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
Okay. So if we move on to the next one, then we are looking at grammar. So again, extremely high level, complex sentences throughout, a whole range of different structures used successfully and generally without effort. So they were used naturally, they were used appropriately, they were used effectively. There was one, I think I heard sceneries. So scenery is uncountable, so you wouldn't want to use that in the plural. Yeah, so there's no scenery like that anywhere else. So I can't quite exactly remember. I couldn't find, I don't think I found any other mistakes. Jamie, did you? I was doing the test at the same time, so I was kind of...
Sure. Yeah.
But I think, again, definitely an 8, you know, and heading up towards a 9.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, the range of language and you know, was excellent. The you know, that's a band 9 range for sure. The only issue that might prevent you getting a 9 that I can see is the possible systematic error with articles and countable, the plurals. So as Annalie, as you said, one of the best sceneries in the world. And then I think I heard we really don't use animal for work purposes. So again, there was a mistake with the S, with the plural S. And I think if it might actually be more like a pronunciation. I just didn't hear the S, but there's a chance if the examiner picks up on like that repeated mistake, then that may reduce your band from a 9 to an 8. So looking at the plural and possibly also the article as well. If you say, you know, it's in northern part of China. I think I didn't hear the as well, the definite article.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I think focusing on the article, the, and the S for plural, those are 2 things that could bump your score up, in my opinion. Okay, so, cool.
Okay, yeah, and then we come to pronunciation. So again, excellent pronunciation. There is very, very little interference from the first language. It's not really there at all, and you exhibit a lot of the aspects, the features of English, an English speaker, in terms of the pronunciation, in terms of the stress. I think all of the intonation patterns are there. You're stressing the key words. You're using a range of pitch. I wouldn't say there was any issue at all with any of the words there. So again, I think, you know, we're on an 8 and heading up to a 9, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, absolutely. Very few pronunciation issues at all. Yeah, easy to understand throughout. Possibly, I think I noted one like very minor. If you say opt for, I think you had the long vowel opt. We opt for, where it's the short oh sound. So, but you know, out of the entire test, that was the only one that I really picked up on. So I wouldn't worry about it. Okay. So yeah, overall, excellent.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we can say definitely an 8.5, and there's a possibility there of a 9, definitely on a good day. Yeah. You know, particularly with the overall impact, I think the overall impression is very, very favorable, is very positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Fantastic. So thank you very much, August. I hope you found that helpful to have a bit of extra practice before your real test. When are you planning to take your speaking test?
I'm planning to take my test next Thursday afternoon.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we all wish you best of luck with that. Okay, so I'm sure you'll be great. And yeah, lots of people in the chat as well are saying good luck.
Yeah. Good luck from everyone.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks very much, August. So I think we can move on now to our second candidate for today. Ramnik, if you'd like to join us, I'll just open your microphone there. So hi there, Ramnik. How are you doing?
Good, Jamie. How are you?
Good, fine, thanks. Yeah, thanks for waiting patiently while you saw August do his test there. Hope you're feeling confident. Having seen that is quite a difficult performance to follow. So
no, that was great. I have a benefit of going second, right?
yeah, exactly. It can help you. So Ramnik, you've already taken your test, actually. Did you say that you did yours yesterday?
Yeah, I did my speaking yesterday, and my other test was on 29th of June.
Okay, excellent. So so this should be easy for you. You can relax and enjoy yourself. Okay, so great. Annalie, I'll hand over to you for the second session. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so exactly the same as before, a full mock test. Also this time, you've heard the kind of feedback, the things that Jamie and I were talking about in terms of, structure and intonation and complex sentences. So, think about those kind of things and how that is going to work in terms of the scoring. I'll leave up the grammar and the pronunciation so that you can look at those as we looked at the, the fluency and coherence and the lexical resource before. Okay. Okay, so could you tell me your full name, please?
It's Ramnik Kundra.
And what shall I call you?
Ramnik.
Okay, and could you tell me where you're from? Sorry.
I'm from New Delhi, India, which is the capital of India.
Okay. And could I see your ID, please?
Sure. This is my ID.
Okay, thank you very much. So in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Okay, so let's talk about where you live. Do you live in a house or an apartment?
Yeah, I live in a house. This is my old family house. We bought it 13 years ago. And when I was in high school, immediately after moving here, 1 year after that, I graduated from high school, and we have been living here ever since.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything about it that you dislike?
Not really. We moved here because we really love the area, because there's a park nearby. There are actually 3 parks nearby, and they're all beautiful. You can go take a walk, you work out there. They have a gym close to my house. They have fitness center. There's a pool in the community. So I really like it because I like to do like physical activities, outdoor activities. So there is nothing that I dislike about it. Sometimes there are people who have parking issues. That's the only part maybe that I dislike, but otherwise it's great. I love it.
Okay, now let's talk about family. So do you have a small or a large family?
I am from India, so even a family of 7 people is a small family. So I have me, my brother, his wife, my wife, and now I have a baby, and my mom and dad. So we are 7 people in our family. So it's a small family for now. Wait until we have my brother having kids. So
Okay.
yeah.
And what sort of things do you do together?
Yeah, we go out a lot. In India, you watch a lot of movies. These days, you have Cricket World Cup going on in England, your country. Mm-hmm. And so we are following that. We watch matches together on the TV, and sometimes we go out, invite friends over, and then most of the time we are just out in the mall, shopping, watching movies, and having a dinner. We do that at least twice a week. So those are the kind of things that we do.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Okay, now let's talk about food. So what kind of food do you like?
My personal favorite is Italian food. I love a good pasta, and I love a good pizza sometimes, but most of the time it's pasta. And second is Indian food, which is most of the time, a chapati and some sort of curry chicken, like butter chicken or chicken tikka masala. So I love those. I love most kind of food, but my most favorite is Italian and Indian.
Okay, and what could you tell me a typical food from your country?
Yeah, so like India is so diverse that there are so many cuisines that you can have here. Like cuisine from South India would be totally different from cuisine in the Northern India. So I'm from North India. So what I can tell you here is here we have common food is related to some sort of chicken or a vegetable, beans, and you have rice with that, and like 100 kinds of breads that you have over here, and every bread tastes different. So yeah, chicken and beans and legumes, those are three typical food that we consume in Northern India.
And in your country, who has the main responsibility for cooking? Is it men or women?
Well, it's I don't like to say that, but yeah, it's predominantly women who cook in India. It's still a patriarchal society, but it's changing really fast. Now men participate in, and contrary, like if you look at the like on the contrary, you see the Indian chefs are the most dominant chefs. Most dominant chefs are males, and only one female from India is rated Michelin star. So it's all males who are taking over the kitchen slowly and gradually. But more predominantly, it's females' job still is. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. You have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Okay, so I would like you to describe a teacher who has influenced you in your education.
Sure.
Okay, you have 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Could you start speaking now, please?
Sure. So yeah, I went to study at New York University, and my teacher over there was John O'Malley, and he was an Irish guy, very funny, and he taught me marketing. And he was the one who helped me actually dream big in terms of the job market when I went out there. And he explained me what kind of jobs are out there and how marketing people undersell themselves most of the times and get a low paying job compared with the finance guys. So because of him, I went for interviews at Yahoo, and with his help I went for an interview at a startup where I actually got the job before even graduating, 3 months before graduating. So he really influenced my thinking in terms of approaching towards the job. And his way of teaching was very, very practical. And he was a funny guy, so he used to interact with the students in the class. And, he was really rational. He won't do anything emotional with students. Oh, you can do this, or, any sort of like motivational speech wasn't there. But the practical implementation was so solid in terms of case studies that he would ask us to do and undertake in the class, that it was just awesome to be to learn from him. And he has his companion. His name was Sir Mackey, and he was an Israeli guy, and very, very diverse kind of a background. And he used to teach us how to actually implement what you do in what you learn in the class in the job. So everything was so tied together that it was real form of practical education rather than just learning facts. And
okay, thank you. Okay, and was he popular with other students?
So he was very new to the university in teaching marketing. He used to teach other subjects before, like organizational management. So he was very new with marketing, but in organizational management, his classes used to be full. So people used to compete to get into his classes, but not so with marketing because he wasn't very famous.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we've been talking about a teacher who influenced you, and now I'd like to ask you one or two more general questions related to this. So let's start with school subjects. What do you think are the key subjects that children should learn at school?
Yeah, so one of the subjects that really intrigues me is psychology, because most of the education that we get in the school is kind of theoretical. And when you go out, you have to understand what the other person is saying and answer that. And even in IELTS, which is a bit practical exam, in terms of most of the people don't score, I think, in writing because they beat around the bush and they don't really answer the question that's being asked. So I think psychology is really important. And then rationality should be another subject where people should learn how to be prudent with their finances, with their lives, how to interact with others. So those are two subjects that I would definitely put high on the list.
Mm-hmm. And how important do you think extracurricular activities are?
Oh, they are very important. Today, I see my friends, sons and daughters always being on their laptops and on their phones. And it's not very good for their brains, because the thinking has already been done for them. So they are just one thing which has been created already. They are not creating anything. So whenever you want to have a conversation with them, they are not really apt to do that. So I think it's very important to go out and do outdoor activities because it makes your thought process very creative and practical.
Mm-hmm. And now let's talk about the education system. So thinking about your country, or perhaps New York where you were, what changes would you like to make to the education system?
One thing I really like about our education system is the mathematical skills that we get in India are kind of unparalleled. And the other country that I can think of which can match our level is only Singapore, where students consistently score higher in mathematics than Indian students. Otherwise, Indian students are pretty much on the top. So one thing this is one thing that I wouldn't change, but what I would change is the theoretical aspect of it. And like you said, outdoor activities need to be, inculcated in students' life. I would do that even more, because most of the time we were just taught in the classrooms when I was growing up, and we used to have little exposure to the sports activities, or if someone wanted to follow their creative pursuits like playing a guitar, playing piano, cello, we couldn't really do that because we didn't have resources, and we always had to compete in academics. So I would change that, because it brings a different dimension to your mind.
Okay, thank you very much, Ramnik. That's the end of the test.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well done, Ramnik. It was really, really great. And thank you, Annalie, for going through the test there. Well done. Excellent. So yeah, thank you guys for your comments in the chat as well. We have some nice feedback as well from people commenting on some of your strengths, maybe some of the issues as well. So well done, guys, for picking up on those. So Annalie, shall we maybe start with a bit of feedback from Ramnik?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, fluency and coherence. So certainly very fluent, very little hesitation there. Okay, there's a few ums and ahs, but that's actually part of natural speech, I would say. That's not really going to take your score down. The answers were also very easy to follow. I found it very natural as well, extremely natural use of the English language. I think, and I did say this before, sometimes a little too fast, perhaps. You are so fluent that it's all sort of coming together. So maybe just a few judicious pauses here and there to break the flow up a little bit. That's what I would say. Jamie,
Yeah.
would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that. Like, yeah, very fluent and some very nice, natural intonation, particularly at the beginning and in part 2 as well. You use the pause, just very, very, very natural intonation when you're speaking. As Annalise said, I felt like towards the end, in part 3, your intonation, the rhythm became a lot faster. And I think you were you would have benefited from just slowing down a little bit and pausing between the different bits of your answer. But yeah, overall, very nice, easy to follow, well-developed answers with some very nice, use of fluency markers as well. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, good. So probably, would you say an 8 for that? Or
I think so.
I would say an 8.
Yeah, I think probably like the beginning, I'd be more closer to a 9, but then by the end, maybe closer to an 8. So yeah.
Okay, and then for lexical resource, again, excellent. We have sustained use of less common terms. So we have patriarchal, we have undersell, people underselling themselves, unparalleled, inculcated. What else do we have? Which was a beat about the bush, or beat around the bush as well, prudent. So, we've really got sustained. They're very high level words. They're not common words to use at all. We've got examples of idioms. And again, I would say it's very natural use of the vocabulary. It's all flowing without really any effort at all. Intrigue as well. That was another one I just noticed that I wrote. Accuracy is very high. I don't think there were any mistakes in terms of the vocabulary. Jamie?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, obviously a really great range of vocabulary, and I really liked some of the informal kind of expressions you used that were, very typical for speaking rather than, so it's not like very, you did use a lot of high level vocabulary that would be suited to an academic essay, you know, like a patriarchal society, an intellectual conversation, unparalleled. You know, this is all kind of academic kind of style English, but you also used language like, you know, I love a good pizza and I love a good pasta, you know, and this is, it's just very natural. It's the kind of thing that people say, you know, that, and it captures a very specific meaning. So although you wouldn't put that in an academic essay, for a speaking test, it's, you know, absolutely appropriate, and yeah, very, very high level. And again, I didn't notice any real inaccuracy there. So yeah, you know, well done, basically.
Yeah, very good. So yeah, I mean, 8 to a 9 again, I think there for the lexical resource. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Grammar, again, you know, a whole range of structures used very accurately, also without really any effort. You know, the fluency was totally there, again, very naturally. There was one, it was approaching towards, where it should have just been approaching. So I think the towards wasn't necessary in that case. But again, I don't think there were really any other mistakes, or if there were, they were very small slips. And the range was there as well as the accuracy.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. I think I picked up on maybe like one.
Some articles, sorry, I've just noticed there were a few articles, particularly at the beginning, that were missing. So that is something just to pay attention to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I heard one, maybe a couple of missing prepositions. So things like, he explained me how we did this. And so it would be explained to me, you know, or explained this to me. So I think there are maybe one or two instances of that as well, which might bring down your score. But in terms of the range, you know, it was excellent. And there was some comment in the chat about the use of fanboys. So that the conjunctions, like you often start a sentence or an utterance with but or you know, for. And there was a question about whether it's okay to use these. And I would say for speaking, it's absolutely fine. That's very usual to connect your utterances together. For academic writing, it wouldn't be appropriate, but for speaking, it's absolutely fine to start sentences with but or so. So yeah, just to address that.
Okay. Yeah, and then finally pronunciation. That's a good word to not pronounce correctly, isn't it? Again, very clear throughout, very natural. I think the intonation was great, particularly in part 1 and part 2, as you were saying. You know, there was a really good flow of expression there. It was very, very nice. It became slightly, with the speed of the part 3, you know, it was still there, but maybe not quite as pronounced as it was at the beginning, but very, very easy to understand. You know, there's a slight accent there, but it's not something that in any way interferes at all with understanding.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree. I think just to reiterate, just at the beginning, your intonation and rhythm was very, very like natural, just very sort of slow and relaxed. And then towards the end, you got a little bit faster. So I think, like, as you've said, just to focus on maintaining that rhythm throughout the test, and yeah, you'll be very, very high score there. So excellent. Cool. So yeah, how are you feeling after the feedback, Ramnik?
It's great. Yeah, I think I didn't change a bit. That's bad. Because Annalie gave me almost the same feedback earlier as well. She gave me an 8.59 earlier as well. So I think the pacing needs to be done. And that's something I need to work on in my real life as well, because my dad says I speak very fast.
Yeah.
And he always goes like, Ramneek, volume and speed, both low.
Sure.
And I'm like, sure.
Yeah, I think it, you know, for everyday life, I mean, I don't think it's an issue. It's only within the very specific criteria for the test that this is something that you would ever need to think about. So once you pass and you get your 8.5, then you can speak however you like for the rest of your life. So very good. Excellent. So guys, we've completed both tests. We've given some feedback. I would just like to say a really big thank you to both of our candidates for joining us today. I mean, it takes a huge amount of courage, you know, to come online and to speak, to do something that's already quite stressful. You know, in private with, you know, in front of a large audience. So I just want to say a very big thank you to you both for joining us. So yeah, and we have you know, a few more minutes where we could perhaps discuss any questions that, you know, our attendees have. If you'd like to direct them to either of our students, guys, if you'd like to try to share some of your, you know, wisdom. How did you get to, you know, the level you're at now? This is obviously something a lot of our students are aiming for. So, I mean, we have a question here from Janina. It's probably a good place to start. How can I improve my speaking skills? If either of you would like to give some advice on that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, you want to go, August?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
My answer to that is very straightforward. I would say repeated practices is the key, and you should definitely not ignore it or overlook it, because it takes me more than 17 years to speak at my current fluency. So it is definitely a hard work for non-native speakers like me, because I speak Chinese most of the time. So it really requires a lot of practices.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, August. Ramneek, how about you? Anything to add?
Yeah, same with me. It takes a lot of time to improve your English. In India, I speak, like my mom and dad and my brother, we always speak in Hindi. Though we understand English, everyone understands English, but we never talk to each other in English. Never, ever. Still don't. And I don't think it is changing anytime soon either. So, so what I think is, what helped me was because I studied outside India. I was in New York for 4.5 years, and there I could improve my English. But at the same time, you need to speak in English. There are online portals where you can go and chat with non-native speakers in English, and you can do that about 1 hour a day, and they charge you about like $5 a month or something like that to join those forums, and they conduct regular webinars like this one. So that would be a great start.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important to have that practice, the opportunity
Yeah.
to speak English
The
on
more
a
you
daily
speak, the more you
basis.
learn.
Absolutely. If I could just take a moment to do a little bit of promotion for our speaking evaluation service. This is something that's available on our website, IELTSonlinetest.com. I've just put the link to it in the chat there. You can book time with a qualified speaking examiner. It could be Annalie, it could be myself, or another one of our team. And you can go through a full mock test, identical to the one we've just done today. It's wrong, it's not free, it's a premium service. It allows us to provide these webinars free of charge. So it is an option for you if you're planning to take your test in the near future and you'd like to get some additional feedback on your performance and how you can improve. So if you're interested in that, that is available via our website. If you'd like to see the recording for this webinar, that will be available on our YouTube as well. So you'll be able to review both tests. So let's see, guys, do we have any other questions? I think we've got a minute or two. We can maybe tackle one more question. And let's see, there's a lot coming in both via the chat and our Q&A. So let's see. A question here from Umar about speaking speed. He's asking, does speaking fast have a bad impact on our band? Well, August, Ramnik, what do you guys think based on the feedback from your tests?
Well, I think in terms of speaking fast, like I speak fast. So, and I usually, whenever I have conversation with other people, I am, like you pointed out correctly, I am faster toward the end because then I'm just warmed up completely. So it's not a good habit to speak fast, because sometimes people might not follow you because your thoughts are coming very fast and people are not able to process them. And one thing one advice I would like to give to the future test takers is to read a lot, to read newspapers and watch some English channels like BBC, people who have their exams like far away. Reading is really the key. Like if you read newspapers, first of all, you will have content to talk about. And most of these things are current affairs, like related to environment or, other things. And second thing could be, going through, second benefit could be your vocabulary would improve and you would be able to insert one or two words in place of a whole sentence. So those are two suggestions. Yeah.
That's excellent advice. August, anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I would say you guys can definitely consider listening to BBC podcast, because those people hosting the podcast can definitely read in a way that is soothing to your ears, which is easy to understand. And I am currently mimicking them, and also I, on a regular basis, watch news from BBC and also watch the British Parliament videos, which are very advanced and very difficult. But then you can really appreciate how politicians speak in a way that is not too quick yet easy to understand, if you understand their language, first of all.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is great advice, guys. So I'm afraid.
Could I just, there was a point I want to make for everybody. I think you can see based on these two tests that, we've got kind of two different personalities here, but both functioning at a very, very high level. So, there's not like one single way of doing it. People have different ways of speaking in their own language. Some people, are more particular. Some people are more fluent. That's, not really the issue. The issue is, how easy is it for the examiner to follow what you're saying, and the fluency and the level of vocabulary that you're using. But, there can be different ways of tackling it, and there's still going to be very, very high scores.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that. So, guys, I'm afraid we're going to need to wrap up today. This has been a lot of fun doing this webinar. It's been really, really nice to do something different and to have participation from such sort of accomplished speakers. So thank you very much again. Best of luck with your test results. I'm sure you guys are going to smash it, so you'll be fine. And yeah, thank you everyone for taking part. We have a few more webinars planned for later in the week. I've put the link to them in the chat there, so you can yeah, follow us for our upcoming webinars. So big thank you to Annalie, big thank you to August, big thank you to Ramnik for joining us today.
Bye, guys. Best of luck.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Best of luck.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Have a nice day.
Nice
You
meeting
too.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Good
Bye.
luck, everyone.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Hopefully see you again soon. Bye for now.